In this video, I'm gonna show you how you accidentally made your dog reactive. So if your dog is currently barking and lunging and freaking out whenever they see other dogs and you just want them to ignore other dogs and walk right past them, this video is for you. So the reason why your dog is reactive is because they're stuck in a reinforcement loop. And a reinforcement loop has three components. The stimulus is the thing that your dog is reactive towards. In this case, it's the other dogs that they see in the environment. The behavior response is the thing that your dog does when they see those dogs in the environment. So barking, lunging, pulling towards them, and so on. The reinforcement is the consequence that is increasing the frequency of this behavior. It's the thing that makes it more likely that next time your dog sees that dog in the environment, they're more likely to select that same behavior again. And right now, this is the loop that your dog is stuck in. Every time they see the dog, they react and something good happens. Every single time. Every time, and every time they repeat it, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Now, to understand how the reactive behavior is being reinforced for your dog, you have to understand why your dog is being reactive in the first place. What's the emotion that's motivating that behavior? For example, let's say that when your dog sees other dogs in the environment, the emotion that they feel is fear. They're afraid of the other dog, and they've learned that by barking and lunging and putting on this big show, the other dog goes away. You take your dog away, the other owner takes their dog away, and your dog learns that when I see other dogs and I feel this feeling, all I have to do is bark and lunge at them, and the other dog goes away. The behavior of reacting has been negatively reinforced. The removal of the other dog, the aversive stimulus, increase the frequency of that behavior. And every time your dog repeats this, it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. Or on the other hand, let's say that when your dog sees other dogs in the environment, the emotion they feel is excitement. It's arousal. They get really intense around the other dogs. Maybe they love playing with other dogs. It's like their favorite thing ever. And so when they see other dogs in the environment, they're anticipating receiving all of that reinforcement from the other dog. You're holding them back on the leash, so they're really frustrated and they want to get to the other dog, but they can't. And so they're barking and lunging at them because they're frustrated. And then what if you just walk right up over to the other dog, or the other dog comes over to you? Well, in that situation, the behavior of reacting was just positively reinforced. The addition of that other dog increased the frequency of that behavior. But here's another thing that most reactive dog owners and dog trainers do not understand. This behavior can be self-reinforcing. Meaning, if you've got a dog, let's say they get excited and lose their mind whenever they see other dogs, even if nothing good happens, even if you never let them go and say hi to start playing with that other dog, your dog continues to offer that behavior again and again and again. Why? Because they simply enjoy performing that behavior. They like it. They like dumping all that arousal out and barking and lunging at the other dog. It becomes the highlight of the walk. They start seeking it out. In that situation, the behavior is self-reinforcing. So even if no external consequence is present, the behavior, simply engaging in the behavior at all, is rewarding enough to have it repeat. Now I'm going to show you how to break the loop. I'm going to show you what doesn't work and what does work. So I want you to look at this equation and ask yourself, how might you reduce the frequency of this reactive behavior? Well, if you're a smart cookie and you're watching this video, you might be thinking to yourself, what happens if I just removed this? What if I just removed the thing that's reinforcing this behavior? Not a bad idea. Let's run through it. So let's say your dog is fear reactive towards other dogs, and the removal of the dog is what's increasing the frequency of this behavior. What if the other dog never went away? What if your dog is just reactive towards that dog, and they just stayed there, and you just stayed here? Not a bad idea. Maybe after a while, your dog stops barking. Your dog stops being reactive towards that dog. Well, in that situation, you technically just negatively punished that reactive behavior. You withheld the thing that the dog desired to create a reduction in this behavior. But by removing the way that the behavior was being reinforced, you successfully are starting to decrease it. Not bad. However, how realistic is that? How realistic is it that when you're walking around the neighborhood and you see Susie has got her German Shepherd that she's walking around, who's also reactive, and your dog sees them and she sees you, and both of your dogs are, how realistic is it that Susie stops her walk? I think probably Susie keeps on walking away from you rather quickly, tries to get out of the picture very quickly. How realistic is it that when you're walking to the park, those other dogs don't try to get away from you when your dog starts reacting? You see? Now it starts to fall apart because now it's inconsistent. Sometimes it's being punished, but most of the time it's still being reinforced. You see? So the behavior is not going to decrease. So we can throw that one out the window. What if, or in another situation, what if the behavior is self-reinforcing? Your dog simply enjoys the act of reacting towards other dogs. Well, in that situation, there's nothing you can remove because the behavior itself is intrinsically reinforcing. So now it's like, okay, well, what else can we do? Well, what if we taught the dog to do something else when they saw other dogs? So what if we taught them that, hey, when you see other dogs, you can look at me for a treat, or you can sit for the ball. So you're gonna reinforce an alternate behavior is what that's called. Now, that might work, especially if your dog is incredibly food motivated or really, really likes working for their toy, right? However, what's the problem with that? The problem with that is that both paths are reinforcing. Reacting at other dogs is still reinforcing. Looking at you for the treat is also reinforcing. So your dog will simply do whichever is most reinforcing in the moment. And that's where you get the classic, I'm gonna look at you for the treat and then lunge at the other dog and then look at you for the treat and then start barking at the other dog, you see? The dog will simply perform whichever they want to do most in the moment. And this is the reason why so many training approaches completely fail. It's because you don't have a basic understanding of why the dog is reactive in the first place and what's motivating the behavior. So if you want to break this loop, if you want to decrease the frequency of this behavior, I'm gonna let you in on something, all right? The only way to decrease a behavior, the only way to decrease especially a self-reinforcing behavior is punishment. This is what allows you to completely remove your dog's reactive behavior and break this loop. And if you want to know how to apply this to your dog at home, watch this video up next where I break down my entire 4-step reactivity system.